Hello, my name is Sophia. I'm 29, oldest of three. Easter dinner smelled like ham, glaze, and baked-in old resentments. I flew in, set the table, kept conversation light on purpose. Vanessa scrolled. Corey arrived late, flip-flops slapping polished tile at Easter. Mom lifted her fork, smiling like nothing dangerous was coming tonight. Then she said, calm as the weather, Sophia breaks this family. Not shouted, believed, like a diagnosis she'd practiced for years in her mirror. Forks paused. Vanessa blinked. Corey laughed, then finally stopped when I stared at my plate, felt something vital switch off inside me. I didn't yell, I stood. I said, got it, and walked away. The room kept eating, like I hadn't just vanished at dinner. That was the moment I knew something had to break. Dad left in high school. The house forgot its center. Lorraine called it abandonment. I called it learning to brace. I became glue, patching cracks no one else acknowledged. College meant classes, 2 jobs, and rent due always early. When Vanessa spiraled sophomore year, I drove 3 hours, checked her out, packed her room, steadied her breathing. When Corey crashed hard, I paid for the repairs. When he dropped out, I co-signed his first lease. I was 21, apparently already rich with resilience. Mom praised herself for groceries, called mine helping your family. Every favor returned as guilt, wrapped with sentimental ribbon. She loved being needed, hated admitting she needed me. If water threatened shutoff, she texted my moral compass. If Wi-Fi lagged, I refreshed their world before mine. Property taxes slipped, I loaned money with no return. Receipts stacked neatly. Gratitude never survived a whole day. Lorraine judged sacrifices by decibels, mine always too quiet. Her favorite story: I'm a martyr nobody asked to help. She'd tilt her head, smile, and call it honesty. Meanwhile, I kept calendars, passwords, and everyone's emergencies. Holidays meant logistics. I chose flights around unpaid bills. I arrived early, fixed chairs, and swallowed little jokes. Praise traveled to Vanessa. Criticism forwarded automatically to me. Corey borrowed time. I underwrote it with interest. Every yes postponed a reckoning I refused to name. I kept telling myself stable meant everyone else okay. But stable meant me empty, quietly footing the story. Lorraine curated histories where she suffered most nobly. She cried to aunts. I paid invoices in silence. When I asked for thanks, she offered fresh accusations. When I asked for fairness, she offered folklore and sighs. The house learned to feast on my invisible labor. And I learned disappearing is easy when you're needed. Easter just said it out loud, without flinching. Everyone kept eating. I tasted an ending beginning. My hands stopped shaking. My ledger started turning pages. But Easter was only the spark. The fire came after. Back at my Airbnb, I stared at the ceiling. Being the glue had welded me to everyone's mess. So I opened my laptop and started unlatching quietly. Electric, gas, water, internet. One by one, I logged in. No drama. No cancellations. Just removed my name, ended autopay. Set final service dates. Let the accounts belong to themselves. Shared groceries next. I removed my card, closed that tab. Corey's car loan, almost paid, emailed the bank to disengage. Cosigner removal requested. I wrote. Attached the remaining schedule. Then I messaged my accountant. Family support line item closed. He replied, understood, like a benediction I finally deserved. I didn't send a manifesto. I sent nothing. No warning shots, no lectures, no midnight explanations anymore. Silence, for once, would carry the weight by itself. If I was the problem, let absence prove otherwise. Week 1 passed. Quiet hovered like weather that never breaks. Week 2 arrived with buzzing phones and familiar choreography returned. Mom, Wi-Fi's out, water's weird, power's acting up, call me. I let the voicemail finish its little performance, unfazed. Corey, real mature, grow up. No punctuation, predictable entitlement included. Vanessa, did you shut it off? Her message felt softer. Then the mask dropped with a text that grinned. I'll call your boss and tell them who you are. I almost laughed. She didn't know my new job. Threats only work if the target believes in leverage. I answered 3 words. Don't bother trying. Then stopped responding. Silence expanded. My chest discovered new square footage. Mornings, I ran. Tasted air that wasn't borrowed. Nights, I cooked for one without apologizing to anyone. I photographed light on metal like proof of control. Meanwhile, the House of Cards learned about gravity firsthand. Screens dark, faucets blunt, outlets dumb as uncharged stones. Group chat spun legends about selfish daughters and martyrs. I filed screenshots, dates, and numbers like a ledger. Aunt Denise called with concern dipped in accusation and nostalgia. Your mother is devastated. Talk like adults, she suggested primly. Adults, I thought, pay bills they control and own outcomes. I let her voicemail sit beside the others, cooling. Mom finally messaged an email titled simply, "Sophia, please." A scroll of weather, economy, abandonment, and my ingratitude. Family, she concluded, supports each other when times get hard. True, when support isn't a leash disguised as love. I reread receipts proving where my love had gone. It wasn't revenge. It was release and clean accounting. Peace doesn't arrive loud. It arrives with canceled autopay. And receipts that stop bleeding each month without ceremony. And that's when the house finally started to collapse. The call came from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it die into another unanswered notification. "Is this Sophia Marine?" A gravelly voice asked, careful, tired. "Dave, your mom's neighbor. You might want to know." He said squad cars, then a county sedan with folders, child services, an inspection, a report about kids inside, no power, no water, a woman staying there with children. My hand found the countertop before my knees could argue. Mom hadn't just spiraled. She was pulling strangers down too. I thanked him, wrote the names he gave me. Then the laptop opened like a file cabinet on fire. Bank transfers, utility receipts, screenshots, dates stamped in plain font, emails with subject lines that read, "Got the water again." Text strings where love arrived as invoices and deadlines. I stacked them into a timeline that could stand alone. No adjectives, just facts that breathed without me prompting. I drafted an affidavit and sent it to counsel. Subject line: household support, termination, documentation attached, per request. He replied, "Received." Professional mercy, small and exactly enough. Then an email from a social worker arrived politely. Investigation into unsafe conditions. Would I provide context and records? I sent a summary, neutral as a hospital hallway. Years of financial support. Recent withdrawal after repeated emotional mistreatment. No guardianship, no authority, no access to the property. Attached PDFs, transfers, confirmations, screenshots, and dates that mattered. Her response? "Thank you. This clarifies responsibility. We'll follow up." I exhaled and felt my spine return to neutral. Accountability is quieter than rage. It still shakes rooms. Outside, rain started, the kind that polishes concrete into mirrors. Inside, my phone face down, my kitchen finally felt mine. I thought about calling Vanessa, then let the thought rest. She knew where to find me when she needed. What I didn't expect was what the silence invited. Loneliness? Not exactly. It was space with locked doors. Space for grief. And for strategy that wasn't survival. I labeled folders, named files, and numbered the pages. Every proof said the same sentence in a chorus. "You are the support, not the source of harm." I slept for once without dreaming logistics or emergencies. Morning brought headlines, then a message from a neighbor again. Inspection scheduled, photos taken, a notice taped to siding. I stood barefoot, felt tile, and practiced my breathing. I had prepared for the storm to stay distant. I hadn't prepared for the storm to find me. But nothing prepared me for the knock at my own door. Rain hammered the hallway when the knock finally arrived. I expected a package. I found Lorraine and Corey. Hair plastered, makeup streaked, eyes lit with weaponized panic. Corey held an umbrella like a borrowed shield. "We need to come in," Mom said without greeting. I didn't move. "Why?" I asked, voice deliberately even. "Because this family is falling apart and you're watching. At Easter you said I caused it, remember?" She scoffed. "People say things when they're pushed. You weren't pushed. You meant every word that night." Corey stepped forward, rehearsed calm slipping from his mouth. "The state's involved. Inspections. We could lose the house." "She's unstable," I said before kindness could edit truth. Mom's jaw trembled, then reassembled into old theatrical courage. "You think you're better now with your little independence." "No. I think boundaries keep everyone honest and safe." "Let us in," she pleaded. "We're family, Sophia. Until you get real help, you're not welcome here." Silence pooled. Rain measured seconds against the doorframe. Corey tried again, softer. "Come on, this is extreme." Extreme was letting kids live there without utilities. Extreme was blaming me for stopping payments I made. Her eyes flashed. "After everything I sacrificed for you." Groceries and rides weren't sacrifices. They were parenting, Lorraine. The name landed like a verdict neither of us appealed. I'm not your martyr, bank, or backup plan anymore. Respect precedes help. It never follows paperwork and threats. She glanced past me, searching my apartment for leverage. There wasn't any, just light, plants, and unborrowed quiet. "You'll regret this," she whispered, as thunder dramatized the hallway. "Maybe," I said, "but not tonight. Good night, Mom." I closed the door gently, The lock clicked like punctuation. I stood there breathing until my hands remembered stillness. The apartment held me like something finally unreturned. Minutes later, my phone lit. Vanessa calling, then staying. Good, she said, you finally drew the line. We planned coffee, budgets, and exits that didn't require permission. For once, our sibling talk wasn't triage, it was strategy. Outside, rain washed the script ink from my doorstep. Inside, my boundary stayed where I put it. I didn't feel cruel. I felt proportionate and awake. The girl who fixed everything retired without a speech. The woman replacing her chose doors, locks, and peace. For the first time, I wasn't their scapegoat. I was free. Weeks later, consequences arrived without speeches. Just paperwork and tape. The inspection failed. Photos cataloged mold, cold rooms, and silence. Child Services relocated the woman and her kids safely that day. A notice fluttered on siding like a tired white flag. Corey moved in with friends, learning budgets without my shortcuts. Vanessa signed a lease, scheduled classes, and texted me screenshots. Her voice sounded taller each week we compared receipts and choices. Mom drifted between couches, explanations, and the mythology she curated. Aunt Denise tried neutrality. Even Switzerland eventually picks a side. I stopped tracking their weather and started tracking my peace. Work noticed the steadiness. Promotion followed with quiet confetti inside. Weekends, I volunteered, shot photographs, and cooked on purpose again. My apartment felt like mine, not a staging area anymore. Bills drafted themselves, finally to my name alone every month. I slept through thunderstorms. No one needed midnight rescues anymore. On my birthday, the silence arrived like a gift finally. No guilt call, no cookies freighted with obligation and history. I blew candles with friends who knew whole versions me. Peace wasn't loud. It repeated small, consistent sentences each day. Respect first, then help. Never reversed, never bartered for love again. Vanessa asked hard questions. I answered without managing outcomes anymore. Corey texted less. Consequences mentored him better than I could. Lorraine sent a letter, blame wrapped in pale blue envelope. I shredded it, then watered plants like a ceremony after. Forgiveness arrived slowly, separated from reconciliation on purpose for me. I forgave myself for staying and for leaving so late. Grief still knocked. I let it walk the hallway sometimes. It didn't unpack. It learned the guest room schedule instead. If you've lived this, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city below, and what boundary changed everything recently. Like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs permission today. Family can be chosen. Safety absolutely must be chosen too. I don't owe chaos my stability or my savings anymore. I owe myself a life that fits without shrinking first. If you're standing at your door, shaking, breathe and choose. Open it wider for exits, not for more excuses again. Close it gently. Locks can sound like healing punctuation too. Then go make dinner and keep the lights yours tonight. Because sometimes